Hi, I'm Lorri Bernson, and I am blind, and I'm at Guide Dogs of America. And your job out there is to come up with questions because I'm sure you don't know everything about being blind, because probably a lot of you aren't. And do you know everything about a guide dog? Because look at Captain. This is Captain working very hard, very hard. And he has some answers that you need to know about. So as you guys are getting on, I'll tell you about the school. We're Guide Dogs of America in Sylmar, California. And we breed and raise and train dogs to become guide dogs for the blind. And we also have a little newer section for us that promotes and services people who have PTSD and children with autism, and some dogs that are needed in some facilities like a courtroom where the stress level might be really high. But today we're going to focus on blind people and guide dogs. Go us. So we've got some questions that Mariah's here to help me with. We had some questions come in early, so we can go through some of those, and I can show you guys how my voiceover works once I find my voiceover phone. And this is live. Can you tell? This is super. There it is, phone. So start thinking of some questions and send in some comments in the comments, because we're here to answer. And you are going to hear the voiceover program on my iPhone. And this is like the greatest thing for people who are blind, so that they can listen to their emails and phone messages. So I'm going to listen to what questions that came in. What's the difference between, okay, I have it on super fast speed because I'm so used to listening to this. So that question was, what's the difference between using a cane and a dog? Well, for me, if I were to depend on my cane, I'd be gone, done. Can't use my cane. I'm so bad at it. But the main difference is, look at this face. You get this face with you all the time. Captain, show your cute little body. Come on, up, sit. There he is. Captain is totally into his job right now. He said that this was not in his job description, but he's doing it. And having him with me all the time is the best. And I don't have to depend on myself to find things. I can tell him, go find the door, go find outside, go find a seat. Whereas with a cane, you're literally tapping around looking for where you think you might need to be. So that's question one that came in. And Mariah, if you see any questions that come in on live, just tell got one.
So someone, she or they are saying they're so excited to get one, but they're worried about the application. And they feel that the cane, they're so bad at it, and they're always knocking in and falling into things.
Well, don't worry about the app. If you're legally blind, which means that your best vision is worse than 2200, you're legally blind. Or if you have what's called a visual field, like a whole visual field is 100 degrees. 100%. I have 3%. So within my 3% is cloudy. So I have no vision in my right eye. My left eye is that 3% tunnel that's cloudy. So I'm definitely legally blind. And really what you need to be able to do is be mobile enough that you'll actually use a dog, because we don't want to put all the work and the money and everything into the dog if the dog is just going to be somebody's pet. So even if I didn't work at Guide Dogs of America, I would say go for it. Don't worry about the application process, and your life will change. I promise you, your life will change, especially if you're not great at the cane. For sure. Experienced answer, for sure. Let me see whichever one I've got.
Two notifications.
Voiceover.
What's the difference between using a cane and having a guide dog? 2. How do you best handle guide dog discrimination?
How do you best handle guide dog discrimination? That's a great question. It's hard because there's so many fake service dogs out there that, especially because I, quote, don't look blind, people will very often say, I'm sorry, we don't allow pets in here. You'd be surprised how many people do not know that this harness is because he's wearing it because he's a guide dog. People don't know. In fact, I've had people ask me what's wrong with him, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? What's wrong? And they'll say, good, he's wearing that brace. So I deal with it by explaining and educating, because usually the discrimination comes from people just not being educated about him being a service animal that was trained many tasks to help me with my disability of blindness. So I just try to take a little extra time and really talk to them about what the difference is and how he's not just a pet. It would be like not allowing somebody in with their wheelchair. It's the same thing, because he's my mobile, gorgeous, loving tool in a way. So he goes where I go, because that's the only way I can get there. Anything else? Should I go to mine?
Yep.
Okay. So then we
Does height
have,
play a factor in what guide dog you get? 4. Does height play a factor in what guide dog you get?
does height play a factor in what guide dog you get? Great question again. It really doesn't, because if you have a dog that can keep up to your pace, and the trainers, they interview you and they can see what your pace is, how your tone of voice is, like as you can tell, I'm more la 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 versus Captain forward. So as far as how tall I am, that would depend, and that would determine the length of the harness handle. So if Captain was taller, then I would have a shorter harness handle. And if he was shorter, my harness handle is larger. So Captain's a little bit shorter than my previous guide dogs, so his harness is a little bit longer than what I had for them. So that's what compensates the height difference. So that's that one. Anything coming in? Come on, you guys, you know everything about blindness? Okay, I feel one's coming in. But in the meantime,
3. Does height play a factor in what guide dog you 4.
Here we go.
When a guide dog retires, where do they go?
what happens when a guide dog retires? Well, that's the toughest part of having a guide dog, because at Guide Dogs of America, we actually give ownership to the recipient, which, by the way, is at no charge. We do several fundraisers, as many as we can, because all of the funding comes from all the fundraisers that we do. So, but the cost to put like a Captain and I together is about $60,000. So the question was,
5. What happens when a guide dog retires?
when he retires.
Guide dog. Actions available.
So usually a dog works until around 9 or 10, and then because Captain is my dog, I can choose to keep him if I can. But it's been difficult for me to keep my previous guide dogs, because receiving a new dog and having your most retired guide dog still at home, it's absolutely doable. But I didn't have the opportunity to be in a home where he could go out on his own. So the responsibility kind of gets pulled between the two if you're not with somebody else. So you cry forever, and you realize that your relationship is not over, it's just the relationship as you know it. And oftentimes the puppies, the guide dogs, will go back to their puppy raiser. And the puppy raiser is the person that raised the puppy until they're around a year and a half. And then they turn the dog back into GDA, which is Guide Dogs of America. And then the dog goes through training to their blind recipient, and then oftentimes full circle back to the puppy raiser. Sometimes we even have a large waiting list to receive or adopt a guide dog that's retired, because so many people want to give that dog like the best life of retirement that they could have. So they want to give back to the dog who's given so much of their life to someone like me. Any questions?
We do. We have a couple.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with this one. What happens if you don't feel it's a good match at first?
Okay, so the great thing about GDA is the trainers get to know you, whether it's, if you live locally, they'll come and meet you and they'll assess everything about you, where you live, where you, what type of lifestyle, are you busy, are you slow? So they're gonna get an idea of what kind of dog you need to match your life, and vice versa, because you want the dog to be happy as well. So it's not often, like it's very rare, that we don't have a good match because the trainers know the dogs that are in training, and then they get to know the person before they come to class. And then when the student comes to class, the first few days are actually the trainers really watching the person and like, they don't really walk as fast as we thought, but maybe, and they'll keep in mind the dogs that they have, and then it's about 3 days that the trainers are working with the students without the dog. And then that third day is dog day, which is the best. It's when your new guide dog or your first guide dog comes into your world and makes all the difference. But as far as mismatching, it doesn't happen often because we're a smaller school, so we can take the time to really get to know the students and really get to know the dogs rather than having 10 people, 10 dogs, let's see what works. We have an idea before the student comes to class as to what dog would be theirs.
Awesome. We have a couple more questions. We'll go back to this one real quick. So someone's wondering a little more about the applications. We can quickly go over it, clarify the requirements, and then we can go and answer a few more.
Sure. Okay. So the requirements are, like I said before, to be legally blind. And then you also, as said, you need to be mobile. What you don't want to have is a dog that's gone through this huge training program with thousands of dollars and not be working because they want to work. They passed all the tests because they want to keep doing this. Another part of the application process is we get a health notification from your doctor, fills out a form to make sure that you're physically capable of doing the work that you do in school, which is, a couple miles, 4 miles a day, 5 miles a day, with many breaks. And we'll go at your speed. If it's too much, then you'll go a little bit lesser amount, but it does need to be somebody that can keep the dog working. Another part of the application is we take personal references just to make sure that you are responsible enough to take care of a dog and that you are pretty much a solid person that can maintain the rules that are needed. Not that they're that strict, but you want to keep the dog you got as the dog you got and not make too many blurred boundaries so that the dog mistakes when he's in harness. He starts doing playful things that he should only do outside of harness. And they actually know the difference. When I take the harness off of Captain, he would run around this room like crazy. And he gets plenty of off harness time. So some people think that guide dogs don't get to play. You want to come back as a guide dog because it's a good life. Very, very, I would say a very important job, just slightly, but they do have playtime a lot.
So Joe and Guide Dog Venus are tuning in from the UK.
Hey, Joe.
We have another question, Lori. Let me run this one by you. Do you see a difference in one breed to another and how they do guiding? So can you compare them?
You know what? It's not so much breed specific. It's dog specific. I've had my first guide dog was a golden, and then I had 2 lab golden crosses, and now I have Captain, who's my first lab. So it's not so much the breed, because my golden was not Velcro dog like most goldens are. And Captain's pretty chill, and some people think labs are overly exuberant, which they are. So it's almost like when people say dogs shed, like XYZ breed sheds more. Well, I've got a lab that supposedly doesn't shed too much, that sheds more than any of my dogs. So you don't notice the difference too much unless you've gone maybe in different stages of your life. Like when I got Nigel, my first dog, versus having Captain now. They do work differently, but my lifestyle has changed. So the dogs kind of are selected to match where you are in your life. So it's not a drastic change from what you're looking for as a match for yourself, and vice versa.
Awesome. I'm going to go back just up a little bit,
Okay.
back to this question. Can you fly on a plane alone if you have a dog?
I do. We actually, because my dogs have usually been larger, we get the bulkhead, and we hope that the person next to us loves dogs, or if not, we'll see if somebody wants to switch. But we don't have to pay for the dogs, just have to let them know in advance, because they're only allowed to have a certain amount of service dogs on each flight. So yeah, I've done it before, traveled to Toronto, traveled, within the States, and it's pretty, it definitely takes maybe some shame that you feel sometimes when you lose your vision, and it turns into pride, and it's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm on a plane with my dog, and yeah, we're going, we're doing. And it's really funny, at the end of the flight, people will walk down the rows and be like, oh my God, I didn't even know there was a dog there. And that's like the biggest compliment, because that means that my dog has been doing exactly what he should be doing, and that's pretty much just lay there, chill, and enjoy the ride.
Awesome. One more question that we have. Do you think guide dog breeds can expand beyond retrievers, labs, or shepherds?
Good question. Sure, they can expand, but the problem, maybe not necessarily a problem, but you need a dog with a certain temperament, which is why we focus, and why a lot of guide dog schools focus on these main breeds. Because, for instance, some dogs might be too self-absorbed, and their self-interest is to go get that piece of food rather than, nope, got to do my job. I'm going to stay focused on my person and being safe. Some dogs might be too skittish. Some breeds are known to be more hyper, or some that always want to like rile people in and round them up. And you just need a great temperament, wants to please, trainable, which is all these breeds that we use, the shepherds, the goldens, the crosses, the labs, that can accommodate to any environment. Because when we get the dogs here, we don't know who they're gonna end up with. They may end up with somebody in Alaska. They may end up with somebody in Toronto. So it's gotta be a pretty evenly keeled dog breed that can do it. And we've found that the ones we use are pretty much off. Sometimes there'll be poodles, standard poodles, which do great. We just don't do them here because we don't have a breeding stock of standard poodles. But there's a couple more than the breeds that we have here. But it's the same disposition and temperament that you're looking for that those breeds have, that you want to have.
So we have some friends logging in. Miss Christy Yang, love you, Lori.
Hey, Christy. Christy's one of our graduates.
Tiffany, miss you, Lori. You and Captain look awesome together. So let's go back to our pre-recorded questions that people sent in.
Let's see what other ones. I know there was.
4. What happens when a guide dog retires? 5. Is
There
it
you
easier
go.
or harder to date by having a guide dog?
Okay, is it easier or harder to date when you have a guide dog? Well, I guess it's easier, because if the person doesn't like my dog, there's no date. Done. Bye-bye. No date. Bye. So that definitely is a checkbox that can be checked right away. You don't even have to talk on the phone for more than 3 seconds to know that. It really doesn't come into play. I mean, a lot of people now are taking their dogs everywhere. What I find that is a little bit easier while working with my dog and on a date, they're always on their leash, and then their harness is on. But when I pick up Captain's harness handle, he's ready for command. So he's waiting for me to tell him to do something. But I might be chatting with my date and be more next to them and one-on-one, and this way I would put the harness handle down, but I would hold him by the leash. That means Captain knows that he's supposed to be a good boy, but he's not waiting for a command. And that way I would just grab the elbow and ask him to, my date, to just let me grab on. And that's when you see people panic, because they don't know left from right all of a sudden. There was one incident which was very funny, where I dated someone who's blind, and at the end of the date, it was like quiet, and of course you don't get the body language. So I finally said, wait, are you coming in for the kiss or what? Like, you don't know what to do. But that's a blind thing, and it's just part of those blindisms that you have. But as far as having your dog, it's really no different than taking your pet on a date with you. The only difference is within my relationship with Captain, letting him know that he's not in charge of commands because the harness is down, but he is in charge of being a good boy because he's on the leash always. So that's a dating question. I can't believe there's not more of those. You guys aren't even stepping out at all. This is your time to ask.
Oh, here's a guide dog one.
Okay.
Is there an age cutoff for people to get a guide dog?
No, Guide Dogs of America does not have an older age cutoff because the school actually started through the Machinists Union when a gentleman who was employed lost his vision and went to look around for a guide dog, no pun intended, and he was turned down because he was 58 years old, too old. So Guide Dogs of America has no upper age limit. On the other end, we do have people that are over 18. And a lot of that is mainly the responsibility of having a guide dog. It's large. It's totally worth it. But sometimes if you're too young, like, I don't want to take the dog, or I don't feel like feeding him. So you got to get to that, quote, responsible age before you take on having a guide dog. But no, in my first class, there was someone who was 85 years old, busier than I'll ever be. So it's a wonderful thing that we can accommodate any age over 18.
Someone's asking, how much is it to get a guide dog?
The beauty of Guide Dogs of America is there's no charge for receiving a guide dog. The school does all of the fundraising. You just the recipient has to be responsible for maintaining the health and feeding and taking care of the dog. But the about $60,000 pop comes from the school and the money that it's raised and donations. In fact, we have an event on July 30th, and it's actually through the weekend of July 30th. Guide Dogs of America, we want you to take an hour, just an hour, and it's only $10. I mean, nobody rarely asks you for just $10. You could give more, but $10, it's making your commitment to do something, whether it's called a run, walk, ride, whatever event. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to do whatever for an hour that's dedicated to thinking about Guide Dogs of America and how you're even just $10, even every penny goes to making this amazing partnership work happen and live. I don't know what I would do without my guide dogs. My life completely changed, and sounds corny, but I owe it to Guide Dogs of America. So you guys can somehow accumulate $10 here, $10 there, and know that you are part of this amazing place. So that's on July 30th through that weekend. And you can go onto our website, guidedogsofamerica.org, and you will see it on the homepage, and you can register, or I'm going to have not a team, but I'm going to have my own page. So if you guys want to rake up the dollars on my page, I would love that. It'll be Lorri Bernson, and we'll get it going sometime later today.
We have a few other questions here. So do you want to go back to dating, or do you want to answer a guide dog question
I'm
first?
up for anything. This is and if you guys don't ask enough, we're going to do this again.
Okay, so let's start with the dating one.
Oh, boy.
And then we'll go back to the guide dog. So
Okay.
do you think it's better to tell someone about your guide dog right away, or is it better to wait?
That's such a good question. I even ask myself. I believe that if I were to meet somebody, obviously if it's on the phone versus seeing me, because they'll see me right away. I would go into, I have very little vision, not much at all. but I have a great, amazing guide dog. I mean, I wouldn't really specify it like it's my guide dog. I have a service dog for my disability. But I think with anything, you want to be as upfront with what you're willing to share, whether it's your dog, whether it's where you live, whether it's. I'm really proud to share that I have a guide dog, because it's because of him that I would be out dating. I would not have the confidence to date if I didn't have what my dogs have built into me. And so I think at the beginning I might have thought it kind of, I'm a little embarrassed. I don't know. I'm going to get labeled as blind. But I'm blind, and I'm blonde, and I'm wearing a purple shirt. And kidding, I know it's black. So it's a part of me. It's a part of me. So I think it's great to be upfront with as many things. It's like, do you have kids? Would you be upfront about that? Probably. I would definitely let somebody know if I had kids. I don't have kids. So I would put it out there. Yeah.
All right, we're going back to a travel question. When you travel without your guide dog, what do you do with him?
I actually don't travel without my guide dog because I'm not cane efficient enough to do so. There are occasions where I might go out for an evening, and just because it might be whether an environment that I'm not that I need him to be with me. I mean, he will be with me even if I don't need him to work there. But if it's somewhere like, if it's a music festival or something where it's just, I can't tell him where to go. I mean, I'll just say, I'll probably grab on to somebody to tell me where something is, because it's very hard to navigate through very, very busy places. So, so I don't travel alone because I would not be safe doing so. But when he is at home for those every so often moments, he stays at home. And I just make sure that we're still on the same schedule so that I know when he needs to relieve, when he needs to eat. He's still highly taken care of. Highly. But that's not that often. I feel much more confident and more comfortable having him there, especially wondering if there might be an emergency of some sort where I do need to break off and have the confidence to do so. Somebody else asked, there was the last one that just came in on,
Try again. 3 notifications.
don't you love this voiceover?
Mail. How do you best handle guide dog discipline? 3. Desktop. 4. What happens when a guide
Came
dog
in
retires?
this morning.
Where to? 5. Is it easier or harder to date by having a guide dog? 6. Do you let Captain get on furniture or your bed?
Oh, do I let Captain get on furniture or the bed?
3.
Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with the program, the puppy raisers that raise the puppy from 7 weeks of age until about a year and a half, they are asked and told to do not allow the dog on furniture, on the bed, on the couch. And the reason for that, it's not so much like, oh, that's so mean. It's they might end up going to somebody that doesn't really, there's a lot of people that they don't want their animals on the bed or on the couch. So once you start that, you can't reverse it. So the puppy raisers are told, do not allow the puppies in training to be on furniture. Once the dog is assigned, it sounds like a project. Once the love happens and the love is brought to you, he's my dog. So now he's gonna stay with me. If I want him on the couch, he can be on the couch. If I want him on the bed, he could be on the bed. Captain is on the bed, Captain is not on the couch. Only because when Captain sheds. So people might sit on the couch and the hair gets all over, even more so than normal, but it makes the little boundaries so that he knows this he can do, maybe not there, but yeah, we sleep together.
Here's one on here. On average, how long is the process from application to acquiring your guide?
It usually takes, if you've got all your paperwork in, meaning your doctor's report, your what we call orientation or mobility to show that you are cane travelable, that you can travel from point A to point B with your cane, and you get the actual application about your more personal stuff. Once that's in, it could take 6 months, it could take 9 months. Usually what the wait time is to find the right match. And not that everybody is like so weird, we will never find a dog for this person. But it's more, maybe you are incredibly busy and you need a dog that's go, 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 go. And maybe in this string, this section of dogs that we have right now, there may not be one. That we don't want to match a dog that's not a good match to the person. Because like I said earlier, we pride ourselves in matching for the person, for the dog, so that both are happy doing what they're doing. But I usually say around 6 months up to 9 months, and then depending if you're waiting for, let's say, a golden retriever that we don't have like right now, then you might have to wait until the litter gets a little bit older. So it's not necessarily on what you did wrong or that you walk differently or, but just some needs that you may have. But it's always best when you apply for a dog, let the trainers pick the dog. Because you might be waiting and holding out for a lab, but we might have this cross of a lab golden that is perfect for what you're looking for, and you don't want to pass that up because you're waiting for what you think will be perfect for you. So in fact, I did that with Captain. I had a golden, and then I had 2 lab golden crosses, and I thought in my head I never had a lab, and I don't know, I'm not so sure about a lab. Well, I listened to the trainers, and I have been given this blob of perfection because I left it to the trainers. Okay, what does this say about me that this is a blob of perfection and we got matched? It's perfect. It's perfect. So that's it. You want to leave it to the trainers and let them decide what dog is best for you. It's hard, but it's the best way to be in.
All right, so we got an in the dark question.
Oh.
You might want to explain a little bit about that.
Okay.
So the question is, what are some characteristics you have in common with Murphy from In the Dark?
Well, those of you that aren't familiar with the show on CW, it's called In the Dark, and it's on Netflix as well. And I guess because I inspired it, there are some similarities, and the people that know me see a lot of me in it, but we need to just put it out there. It is not a biography. It is absolutely not a biography. For those of you who watch it, you know why I'm saying that. It's a pretty raw show. It's amazing. Everybody loves it, loves it. I think what I inspired it was just a result of when I spoke at CW, it was like, wait, you totally forget that she's blind. She's like I think it just finally showed that there are people with disabilities and they're not wearing a sign that says, "Hi, remember, I'm blind." But there's a full life to be had, however you decide to have it, however Murphy, the character, decides to have it. The blindness it changes how you do things, but it hopefully doesn't change who you are if you are liking how you are. It's not the blindness that does it. It's sighted, blind, deaf. It's the person inside that really determines, like, I don't dress so that I don't look blind. I dress because this is how I dress. A lot of these snarky comments that Murphy makes are comments that I have in my head, like when somebody says, you don't look blind. It's so weird, you don't look blind. And what I get to do by working with the show is I get to have Murphy say what I would say, and what I would like to say is, well, you probably don't look stupid, or maybe you do. And those are things I would never say in public, but things that people have said to me, which could be a whole comedy show on reactions from the sighted community on their expectations of blindness, and even on In the Dark. There's nothing authentic about Murphy to blind people. Murphy's authentic to Murphy. There's things that I do, they aren't authentic. I think oftentimes there's a blur between original and authentic. Is this an authentic harness? Yes. Is the way that Captain and I work together authentic? No, not always. So there has been some, talk about how, a blind person wouldn't do that. A blind person wouldn't do that. Their guide dog wouldn't do that. Their guide dog will do what they allow their guide dog to do. And so there are some similarities, how Murphy and Pretzel go around the world a little bit, because there isn't one way to be blind and one way to be a guide dog user. So that's why when it's compared to authenticity, I think we're our own authenticity. We create it. But as far as her other hobbies, not too familiar with that. And you guys that watch it know what I mean. Keep you in suspense.
We'll go back to a question here. What's the busiest place you've traveled with a guide dog, and how did you manage the anxiety if you had any?
I don't know if I can pick out the craziest place I have been. But what I do in those situations, it can sometimes even be a restaurant where it's super loud, and not that I can hear better. That's a common, misconception. I just use my hearing more. I don't hear any more than somebody that has complete hearing hears. But if Mariah and I are talking across the table and there's little noises all around, those ambient noises are going to out-talk and be louder than my conversation with her. So that in itself, it doesn't have to be crazy crowded, but a lot of it is noise, and you have to learn how to not be shy when you're blind, unless you really want to torture yourself, which I do sometimes because I'm so stubborn and I'm going to do it on my own. I'm not going to ask for help. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But then when the anxiety rises, it's like, stop. You can ask for some assistance. And it might be like getting from point A to point B. I might ask where the restroom is. And that's where everything falls apart. It becomes, oh, it's over there under the red sign. Oh, okay. All right, great. Now, over there is to my left, to my right, and I try to see how far I can get doing it on my own, and then it's a constant. Well, do you see that lady with the red hat? No, I can't see. So then at that point, I would probably say, do you mind walking me over there? Because it comes to a point where you just are so much easier asking for assistance. I mean, having a guide dog is the complete definition of independence. Complete. I can get up, I can go. I can leave this live stream right now if I want, and I can know where I'm going. But there's times where it's, Lorri, just give it up. Ask somebody for assistance. And that's how I usually work around those times where I just find it's going to take me more time to figure out how to maneuver around or get to a place. And if the person isn't great at giving directions, and by the way, if you ever see a person who's blind, always ask them if they need any assistance, how can I assist you? Because some people grab on and it's like, whoa, that won't help. Some people don't know what to do with people with different disabilities, so they don't. So some people will have me they'll walk backwards in front of me with their hands on my shoulders. And I laugh because it's their interpretation of how they would help. But that doesn't really help me. So it's a good thing to always ask, well, how's the best way to assist you? And then communicate that through, rather than, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And that's a really big point that I hope all of you walk away with, and also to not pet a working guide dog or a working service dog. And the reason for that is we're not saying no to be mean. We're saying no because Captain in his harness, he's focused. And if we were approaching a curb and somebody came next to us and was like, oh, puppy, oh my God, puppy, he's liable to blow the curb because that distraction stops him from thinking about what his job is. So if you ever approach a service dog team and, oh my gosh, can I pet your dog? If the answer is no, I usually say, no, but thanks for wanting to. It's 100% you don't want to distract a working dog because they're not only responsible for the person, they're responsible for themselves. So he doesn't just take care of me, he takes care of both of us. So I would never want to jeopardize that at all.
We have some friends on here, Lorri. One of our our service dog graduates, Ruben, he said, Lorri, you're so inspiring, and he has Simba, and he's a mobility service dog.
Oh, that's great. See, that's an example of our other little, almost like a subsidiary, but a partnership with, we own Tender Loving Canines. So it's GDA TLC. And he's a recipient of one of the other types of service dogs, like he said, for mobility training, or mobility assistance. So Captain's going to take a little stretch here, show your little bottom. And he must be so thrilled to have this heavenly blessing next to him. And even though, well, I do have a little bit of mobility issues, so I can relate to that. But having his dog next to him, Simba, I'm speaking for you, has made his life so much better. I know it. I just know it.
Well, Ruben actually is requesting to be in the chat, but we have hit, it's almost 1:15. So we're going a little over here. We have some friends from West LA. Say hi to Sheila and some of your other friends.
Oh, you guys.
So, Lorri, do you want to spend a few minutes adding Ruben to the chat, or should we save it for the next live?
What you know what we'll do, I think would be a great idea, because it's already 1:15. Why don't we do this? If you guys are up for doing this more, I'll do it every day. If those of you that know me know that I probably will stay on this until the next one and just keep rambling. Send us a comment. Let us know if you want to do this more often. Ruben, we can put you in on the next one. Would love some feedback on if you found this interesting, if you found it entertaining, if you found it boring. I'm open to hear whatever you thought of and if you want to do more. So thanks, you guys. I mean, it really, having your support, it's not just like that sentence, thanks for your support. It's personally, like I could cry right now. It's a personal thank you for whether you know me and that's why you logged in, or whether you never heard of GDA but you've been following them on Instagram. Just really thank you for taking this time on your Tuesday to sit and listen and or watch to learn more about the school that has impacted my life. I'll never go back. So thank you for making my life filled with pride, as our other graduates, and I know that I can speak for them as well. So send those comments in, give us some feedback, and just have a great rest of the day and stay well. That's the main thing. And hopefully comments will allow me to say I'll see you soon. Bye, Captain. Seek it up. He's not always like this, I promise. There you go, bud, look. Nixie, hi. I'm not wearing my silly hat right now. I can show you guys really quick the difference between a dog in a harness and a dog out of harness. Do you want to be out of harness? Yeah. Ooh, where are you going? See, now he's off, he's running. And as you, well, he's not running, but he's shaking. But even just with that, the tail's going, you can see their disposition, his disposition, changing, because his heart, it's kind of weird to me. It's kind of like his brain is in his harness. It's a little scary. And now he knows no guiding ability commands at all. Captain forward, nothing. I could be like, Captain tomatoes are flying off the ceiling. Well, nothing. So that's an interesting fun fact. They do not work guide dog commands outside of their harness. That's the tip of the day. Bye.